Happy October, folks. Welcome to episode 201 of hashtag AskGSM here today for October 4th, 2017. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. And you heard that right, episode 201. Last week we had the big episode 200. Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody because it was a big episode. It was live. It was almost 3 hours in length. And I promise you, if you go back and watch it, you can skip over the first 15 minutes. It's me looking at a screen, but there was no way of me editing that out because it was already a part of the stream and YouTube put it up for me. I didn't really want to go through the hassle of doing it all over again. So anyway, though, it went smoothly. All things considered, had a lot of people in the live chat, had a bunch of people sending questions as we were filming, sending questions beforehand. It was great. We had people even call in. So check out the episode for exclusive appearances from the returning Mr. Marceau RJ. We had Tommy Sharp for the first time on the show in a while. Even my girlfriend I call, Haley, she was on the show too. We had Jason, who was great, the very first guest on the show. We had my friend Nick, who's never appeared on hashtag before, but I figured I would give him a ring, and he picked up, and we were able to have him on the show and ask him a few questions. So it was just a complete train wreck, but in the best way possible. Such a great time. So if you haven't already, check out the episode in full right here on the channel. But we're going to get started with episode 201. I feel like I was thinking about this before I started recording. I feel like episode 205 should be entirely cruiserweight related. That's so ridiculous, and we already talk about the cruiserweights a ton anyway here on the show, so it might kind of be pointless, but I thought it would be fitting with episode 205 coming up, 205 live, but it won't be live though. Episode 200 was the only exception, but maybe we do it again for 250, 300, 500 coming up in a few years. I mean, who knows, but anyway, guys, thank you for all your support of the show and for helping me surpass the 200 episode mark. And for those of you that have been there since the beginning, since the middle, since last week, whatever it might be, thank you for your support of the show. It means a lot. And for checking out that amazing video as well, I thoroughly appreciate it. Let's get started with today's questions. And before we do, if you want to send in a question, be sure to tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Leave a post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And also, right here on this very video, drop a comment in the comment section down below with your question. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Let's get started here. Brandon A. from YouTube. He said, great job last week with episode 200 of Ask GSM. I really enjoyed it, even though I couldn't watch live. Anyway, I have just one long-form question this week. So thank you, Brandon. I appreciate that. His question was, a couple of weeks ago, I asked you who has had the better run of matches between Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. You and Noah, who I tried to call last week, by the way, but he didn't pick up. He was busy, which sucks. But he did call me back literally a half hour after I ended the stream. So another time, we'll have Noah back on. Anyway, so he says, you and Noah both said it was a no-brainer with Kevin Owens. Is it possible that there is a bias in your answer, considering Kevin Owens is a fan favorite and everybody hates Roman Reigns? I think you're one of the most fair critics of wrestling in the IWC, but I would have to disagree with KO having a better run than Roman. If you go back to Fastlane 2015, which is where the timeline started, Roman Reigns' worst matches Roman Reigns' worst matches have been his WrestleMania matches at WrestleMania 32 and 33. His 2015 TLC match, against Sheamus, and his 2015 Survivor Series match against Ambrose. In my opinion, the WrestleMania matches weren't good, but they weren't awful. They just have that reputation because nobody wants Roman in that spot, and the fact that these shows were 5 hours long. The other matches I mentioned just never got into a second gear, but weren't bad either. Also, and I admit this has to do with Roman just being pushed so strongly, but the other guy by far outside of maybe AJ Styles or Cena during the US Open Challenge has had the greatest string of TV matches in the past 3 years. Nearly every match he is in is good to great, and Kevin Owens does not have that track record. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. He has managed to have underwhelming matches with Shinsuke Nakamura, AJ Styles, and other good in-ring workers, even when he has time. Tell me why I'm wrong. So, I mean, we talked about it quite a bit when Noah and I answered the question a few weeks ago, but if you really, really want to get specific here, yes, I did say Kevin Owens, because you said in the past 2 years, and I was strictly going off of pay-per-view matches. Like you said, the TV matches that Owens had in the past couple of months, the Nakamura match was whatever. But that was every bit as forgettable as Roman Reigns fucking facing Jinder Mahal. You know what I mean? So they kind of cancel each other out. But yeah, I mean, Roman has had a lot of good TV matches this year with Seth Rollins, with Samoa Joe. On pay-per-view alone, so let's go off of pay-per-view, because you said the worst matches that he's had, that you even mentioned them, the Ambrose match, the Sheamus match, the Triple H match, and the Undertaker match. The Undertaker match was kind of awful. I thought it told a good story, but it was kind of fucking bad for a WrestleMania main event. That's not acceptable. So I understand what you're saying. Oh, they weren't awful, but they were decent, and people just don't like Roman Reigns. No, it fucking sucked, because they were the main event of WrestleMania. They had no business being the main event of WrestleMania. It's not Roman's fault. He and Triple H, he and Taker, they just didn't have good chemistry, and the way the match was laid out was just embarrassing. It just wasn't good. So with Kevin Owens, again, going back to early 2015, Kevin Owens, his pay-per-view matches alone, the matches with John Cena, I'm trying to remember all of his pay-per-view matches. John Cena, which were great. All 3 matches were outstanding. The Cesaro match was good at SummerSlam. Ryback matches were all right. I think pretty sure he faced Dean Ambrose at TLC, Survivor Series, and Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble match was especially good. Ziggler at Fastlane in a pretty good match. The WrestleMania ladder match was excellent, but there was more than just him in there, so I could see why you would want to excuse that. The matches with Sami Zayn, the Fatal 4-Way at Extreme Rules 2016, which I was at. Other matches involving KO. Enzo and Cass at SummerSlam, which was It was alright. It was entertaining, but there was nothing notable. The match with Sami Zayn at Battleground was outstanding. The Seth Rollins matches, the first one was alright. The second one I thought was really, really good inside Hell in the Cell. Him and Roman Reigns at Roadblock kind of sucked. But him and Roman at Royal Rumble was also really, really good. One of the better matches this year, I would say. And since then, who has he faced? Goldberg in 5 seconds, hardly counts. Jericho at WrestleMania, very good match. Payback, very good match with Jericho. The AJ matches, like you said, I thought the Backlash match, the Backlash one on pay-per-view anyway, was the best of the bunch. And then at SummerSlam, he faced AJ, and now he's facing Shane on Sunday. So those are the KO matches for Roman Reigns. But none of those matches with KO were bad, though. Like, that's what I was strictly going off of pay-per-view matches. Yes, Roman has had a lot of great matches, but so has Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens never had a bad match on pay-per-view. Roman has had his fair share of bad matches on pay-per-view in the last 2.5 years with Dean Ambrose, Sheamus, Triple H, and Undertaker, like you said. The Big Show match was really, really good. Daniel Bryan match was great. The Brock Lesnar match was really, really good. So he had a string of great matches at that point. The Wyatt family matches were all right. The Hell in the Cell one I thought was the best of the bunch that October. You would have to go to 2016 for his next really, really good match. At Fastlane, him, Ambrose, and Lesnar was really good, but a lot of people forget about it, and it really, it wasn't all that memorable. It was a really good match, but it was by far not one of the best, 20 best matches of 2016 or whatever. Him and Triple H sucked. Him and AJ was great. The both matches he had with AJ I thought were awesome. After that, the Rollins match was really, really good at Money in the Bank that year. The Shield triple threat was great. SummerSlam, him and Rusev never happened. The Rusev matches, they were good. I thought they were pretty good. The Hell in the Cell match I thought was pretty good, but a lot of people forget about that. He didn't really do much after that. Him and Owens at Roadblock was Him and Owens, like I said, at Rumble was great. At Fastlane, him and Strowman was really, really good. Probably the best match of the night. Mania sucked with Taker. Him and Strowman had a lot of good matches, obviously. So I feel like they're kind of on the same playing field here. I feel like Owens gets the upper hand just because he's had not as many bad matches as Roman on pay-per-views. So that's where I gave Kevin Owens the edge. Now you're throwing in TV matches here, which is tough, again, because I can't remember every TV match these guys have had. I know you said the matches with Styles and Nakamura on TV with Owens weren't that good. They weren't bad. Kind of going off your own criteria here. They weren't awful. They were good, but they weren't, great. Same thing with Roman Reigns on pay-per-view. It's kind of the same thing. Roman's had a lot of, mediocre TV matches, too. The match, like I said, with Seth comes to mind. Finn Balor comes to mind from a few months ago. He had that great TV match with Strowman, like I said, and Samoa Joe as well, a few months ago, earlier in the summer. So I still give KO the edge. I'm not gonna teeter away from what I was saying a few weeks ago. I see what you mean, and I know a lot of people hate Roman Reigns. I've never hated Roman Reigns. I've hated the way he's been booked. But the guy is an in-ring performer. There's no denying that he's really, really good. As a wrestler, that's arguable, but as a performer, and I think there's a difference there, the guy is fucking great. He's a lot like John Cena in that way, where he might not be the most technical, smoothest wrestler in the ring, but when he can go out there and have a really, really good match with the best of them. Him and Roman didn't have a technical masterpiece at what was it? The No Mercy pay-per-view. It was only 2 weeks ago, and I already forgot the name of the pay-per-view. They didn't have a technical masterpiece, but I thought as an overall match, it was really, really good. So I still give the edge to KO, but I see what you mean with Roman. Roman comes close. He's had a lot of good TV matches as well. I mean, with Owens, let's see. The Sami Zayn match he had recently was really good. Before that, the AJ matches were, I thought they were good, but they were far from great. Like you said, kind of underwhelming. I feel like people got their hopes up high for those matches. Not that they were bad, they were just, expectations were just way too high. Before that, the matches, what other TV matches has he had this year? That's the thing. The Jericho matches he had on TV were really good. Last year, the TV matches that he's had with Neville, with Sami Zayn, were all great. Oh man, I'm trying to think of who else he's faced on TV. Rollins, Reigns, they were all great matches. So I mean, it's a tie. I feel like for TV matches, it's a tie for both guys. And then for pay-per-view, I would give the extra slight edge to Kevin Owens. So that's why I go with KO, but I wouldn't argue with anyone who said Roman Reigns. I know I kind of went long on that question, but it was a long-form question, so I wanted to spend some time on it. So, next question, Andre G. from Facebook. Which of these three tag teams would you bring back from 2002 in their prime to compete today? APA, Booker T, and Test, or Billy and Chuck? Were Booker T and Test even a tag team? I had no idea. I know Booker T and Goldust were a tag team in late 2002. I had no idea Booker T and Test were even a tag team. That is news to me. If I had to choose, Billy and Chuck were entertaining, but the whole gay gimmick would never fly today. So that's out of the question. That whole thing would never, ever fly today. Booker and Test, I don't remember anything about, so I'd have to go the APA. You said in their prime, so I wouldn't bring back JBL and Ron Simmons, as of today, as of 50 years old or whatever, but in their prime, even in 2002, I wouldn't argue they were in their prime, but they were still pretty good, so I would bring back the APA. Nick W. from Facebook. Do you think WWE will give Mickie James one last run as champ? I don't think so. This is merely a filler feud for Alexa Bliss before she moves on to Asuka, I would imagine, once she debuts at TLC in a few weeks. So maybe at some point down the road, I feel like if anywhere she was going to get one more title reign as champion, one last title reign as champ, it would have been on SmackDown. She could have been in the role that Natalya's in right now. Natalya has not been champion in close to 7 or 8 years, yet she won the championship at SummerSlam, so that could have been Mickie James if she stayed on SmackDown. I'm glad they're doing the whole thing with Mickie and putting her in the title picture for now and giving her some spotlight, and she wasn't just randomly thrust into the title picture at fucking No Mercy for no reason where she would have lost anyway. So I'm glad they're doing the feud. I don't see her winning. Maybe at some point down the road, I don't know when she's eventually going to leave the WWE. It could be sooner rather than later if she doesn't like what they're doing with her. But it won't happen at TLC. I can almost guarantee you of that. I would be shocked if she beat Alexa for the belt. And even if she did, it would not last long. Your take on the cease and desist issue between WWE and the Young Bucks. Pretty much what everyone else has been saying. I mean, I love the Young Bucks, and I love WWE, but on both ends, for WWE, it's very fucking petty. I'm not going to defend them for this, other than the fact that it's very petty. And the timing was completely coincidental, apparently, according to some, that they would send out the cease and desist letter no more than 24 hours after they, quote-unquote, invaded Raw, which I talked about last week here on the show with the Bullet Club. And I think they were in Los Angeles last Monday. I think they were in some other part of California. But anyway, so what I'm trying to get at is that the fact they sent it less than 24 hours after they did the invasion was not coincidental whatsoever. That was just on WWE's part being fucking petty. And for the Young Bucks, they had to know this was coming. They've been doing the whole Suck It, the DX mock logos, the KO parody logos, and all this other stuff, the Too Sweet shit. For so long, they had to know that WWE would take action. Now, does WWE have anything to their claim that the Young Bucks are ripping them off with? Yeah, I would say the DX stuff probably. But the Too Sweet hand gesture is fucking stupid. It's a hand gesture. I remember WWE tried to put put a patent on that maybe about a year ago on the too sweet hand gesture. It's like, what? I think some other like basketball team or some other sports team from what I've seen has had a lock on that for a long fucking time. So I'm not even sure WWE can win that battle. Maybe they don't have to put it on merchandise. I can see that. But it's a hand gesture. Like, because I know WWE had a similar shirt a while ago. But, yeah, I thought that the fact they're suing them over a hand gesture, them doing it, is really dumb. If it's on the merchandise, I kind of get it. But if it's for them doing the hand gesture, it's a fucking hand gesture. Can no one on the indies flip anyone off because Stone Cold Steve Austin used to do it in the 90s? What a dumb argument. Next question, is Adam Cole set to be the next AJ Styles when he gets called up? No, and I love Adam Cole, baby. But AJ Styles is hands down the best wrestler on the roster today. It's like not even close. And I love Rollins. There's a lot of great wrestlers in WWE right now, but no one comes close to being the same workhorse that AJ Styles is in the company at the moment. Nobody. And Adam Cole's a very good worker. He's a great performer, even more so than that. But in the ring, he's no AJ Styles. And he can be a great top-tier guy if they push him correctly and they don't, relegate him to the mid-card or whatever. But no one's going to be able to fill the role that AJ Styles currently fills unless they bring in Okada, which is not happening anytime soon, if ever. Or maybe Kenny Omega, but beyond that, no one's filling that role that AJ Styles currently has that's in the company currently because that's in the company right now. Because Adam Cole's great, but in the ring, he is no AJ Styles. And they really rely on AJ Styles to be the go-to guy for a lot of stuff nowadays. Whether it be for the U.S. title, the world title, working with this guy, working with that guy to sell the shows, to do the dark matches, the house shows, the appearances, and stuff like that. Because he is, in addition to being very fucking good in the ring, and in addition to being phenomenal in the ring, is very, very popular. They struck gold with AJ Styles and are finally using him the way that he deserves to be used. And I say finally, they were kind of using him right from the get-go. But it does surprise me they are using him like the star that he is, as opposed to relegating him to like the undercard or something, which there was a chance of when he first signed. But no, Adam Cole is not the next AJ Styles when he gets called up. Should Bobby Roode be next in line for the WWE title? So, interesting question. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but that would assume that Nakamura loses on Sunday, which I can't bear with Jinder as champion any longer. We've been on this like a million times, and I hate to repeat myself and sound like a broken record, but I can't go on with Jinder as champion any longer. This shit has fucking got to end. Like, even if he was facing Mojo Rawley to Hell in a Cell, I would say put the belt on Mojo Rawley. Like, that's how bad it's become with Mahal. The program with Nakamura has fucking sucked. None of his matches have been all that good at all. His promos are not good either. They need to take the title off him, and Nakamura needs to beat him on Sunday. I'm very fearful that won't happen. Especially since it probably won't main event the show, and they might not want to do Nakamura's big championship celebration on the undercard. But they got to end it here. Like it's gotten to a point where it's really bad with Mahal as champion, and it's very much bringing down SmackDown. I've said that before too. That said, I would not put the belt on Bobby right away because he's a babyface right now, and he's just starting off feuding with Dolph Ziggler. So just immediately to thrust him in the title picture, once that feud is over, seems a bit soon, so maybe at some point down the road, but I do think Bobby Roode could be a main event guy. I think he could be WWE champion with the entrance and how over he is, and he can go in the ring. So I think he can be a future champ. Next in line might be a bit too soon, though. Mark S. with the Facebook questions here as well. If Raw went ahead with a Shield versus Cesaro, Sheamus, and Miz match at TLC, could it cause an issue for the Miz Taraj as a stable, do you think? I don't think it should or it will. I think Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel, and The Miz will continue to coexist. It's a way better option to do those three that you mentioned, Cesaro, Sheamus, and Miz versus Shield, than fucking Miz and The Miz Taraj, because Axel and Dallas are by no means, they are by no definition a threat to the Shield whatsoever. So to put them up against the Shield is laughable. It's really a joke. So I'm glad they're not going in that direction. It's seemingly Cesaro, Sheamus, and Miz. I would even put Strowman in place of Miz, but Miz has been a part of the program since the beginning, so I would keep him in it at this point after what they teased on Monday. But the Miz Taraj should continue to coexist going forward, despite the fact they will not be involved in the match. And if it's a TLC six-man tag team match, a la, the Shield's debut match 5 years ago at TLC, they could always get involved. If it's no DQ, I wouldn't do that because it's just way too many bodies in one ring for my taste. But I don't really see it being an issue going forward. His next question, if the above bout went ahead at TLC, that would leave only 2 titles defended. Is this an issue or is it acceptable? Yeah, it kind of is an issue, but I guess they could always do, and I've seen some people pitch this, a title for title feud or a title for title match at TLC. So you put the IC title on the line as well as the tag team titles. So the winning team gets all the championships. Winners take all, pretty much, is what that match could be at TLC. I wouldn't be opposed to that. If they wanted to put the belt on Roman Reigns, the IC title, I would kind of be opposed to that. I don't think he did a great job as U.S. champion. But it would give Shield all gold again, similar to when they first showed up 4 or 5 years ago and they captured the United States and tag team titles respectively. So that would be pretty cool. But but that would leave, if they don't do that, and I don't think they will, that was just an idea that someone threw out. They only have the women's championship and the cruiserweight title, because Brock Lesnar ain't showing up, so that's only 2 title matches, which it's not a big deal, but I think you could solve that by doing the winner takes all match at TLC for the Shield and for the 6-man tag team match. That's what I would do. I don't think there's any plans of doing that, but it would solve that issue, and it would be a great marquee main event for that pay-per-view. Is not only the Shield is reuniting, but they could walk away with all gold if all things go their way, if they win the match. So that's how I would book it, but we'll see how it plays out in the next couple of weeks. Next question, also from Mark. Do you think there's a possibility of the Authors of Pain making their debut at Hell in the Cell after the tag team title bout? I do think there's a possibility of that happening, and I do hope it happens. The Authors of Pain, they are due up for a main roster call-up, I think, any time now, because they haven't appeared in NXT in months. The last time we saw them, they were at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. They lost the tag team titles, and they haven't been on the show since. Now, I've seen rumored cards for TakeOver saying they'll be in the tag title match with Sanity and Undisputed Era's Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, but they haven't been on the show in 2 months, unless they were on the tapings, like the latest set of tapings, or they're coming back at the tapings tomorrow. It seems like it's too little too late, and the real feud is between Sanity and Undisputed Era, not Authors of Pain. So I would have them go straight to the main roster. On SmackDown specifically, Raw I think is set. I know the Hardy Boys are out for the foreseeable future, but they have the Club. They have a number of other tag teams. Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. Oh, sorry, my phone just went off. They have a number of stacked tag teams right now, so I think Raw is good. SmackDown could use the Authors of Pain, and if New Day wins, boom, right there, your next feud, Authors of Pain versus New Day. So I would put them on the SmackDown brand, and I think having them debut and make a hell of an impact on night 1 by having them crash the cage after the tag title matches ended and beat the shit out of the New Day would be awesome. I think aligning with the Usos would be cool too, but I think we need 2 separate tag teams right now. Having them align with Roman Reigns would be even better. Or Samoa Joe, that was another idea I saw floated around on Twitter. Nothing like rumored, but just a fantasy booking idea, a fan idea. But yeah, if that's not going to happen, then putting them on SmackDown, immediately taking out the New Day after they retain the tag titles on Sunday, I think would be the best course of action I would take anyway. Next question of his, what would be your opinion about Enzo Amore getting a bodyguard in the near future, seeing as he's currently champion, a bit like Shawn Michaels and Diesel? Is it needed or not needed? It's not needed, but it would be cool. I mean, fucking Colin Cassidy, Big Cass, I think would be perfect with the role. That's the thing. Like, they broke these 2 up, but they are way better together than they are apart. And if they weren't going to win the tag titles, and that's fine, and they should have, but they didn't, then just have Enzo be the mouthpiece for Big Cass, or vice versa. You don't have to have Cass be the mouthpiece for Enzo, but Cass wasn't exactly lighting the world on fire before he got hurt. So having him be the bodyguard for Enzo as a heel, I think would be really interesting. Enzo kind of sucks on his own, at least in terms of in-ring ability, so having Cass there I think would work. He'd be the perfect person for the job. I'm not sure who else you would put with Enzo. I think he's fine on his own right now because he can talk. And if they're going to have him on his own, he might as well be a heel. But I think Cass would be the right guy for the job, and he's currently out. Then again, I'm not sure. He got hurt, so it's not like he can appear on TV tomorrow. And I'm not sure what the extent of his injury is going to be at whatever point, whenever he comes back. But it would be cool if he was cleared to not compete, but rather appear on TV and he can get around. Cass not taking any bumps and just beating the shit out of the cruiserweights could be entertaining. So I wouldn't be opposed to that, but again, it's kind of the idea doesn't really work right now. It's kind of dead in the water because Cass is currently hurt, but maybe at some point I think that would work down the road. His next question, what do you think could be a match of the night at Hell in the Cell, and might the Randy Orton versus Rusev match be a possible sleeper pick for that position? I highly doubt it. There are way many more matches on that card that I'm looking forward to over Orton and Rusev. The feud has been whatever. Orton just does not interest me. They've done nothing with Rusev. I mean, Happy Rusev Day is awesome and all. The guy's hilarious, but you know he's going to lose. And they were given 10 seconds for their 2 previous matches. So we have no idea how well they work together. Hell, they could be the next fucking Shawn Michaels and Undertaker for all I know. I highly doubt it. But I'm looking forward to many other matches on the card other than Orton and Rusev. The tag title match, I think, could be the show stealer. KO and Shane could be a great match, too, in the main event. Mahal and Nakamura could go either way. The SummerSlam match sucked, I thought, but maybe it's a better match this time around. Who knows? Even Natalya and Charlotte, I think, could be a better match. Even fucking Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler could be a better match than Orton and Rusev. So my hopes are not high for that match, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they exceed those expectations and they have a great match. I'm not expecting it, but maybe they exceed all expectations and they have the match of the night. I highly doubt it, but I do think the match of the night will go to the Usos and the New Day, if not Shane and KO. Speaking of Shane and KO, his final question here from Mark. Will any other members of the McMahon family get involved in the bout between Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens at Hell in a Cell, and would it be a good or bad idea? Yeah, it'd be a bad idea. I know it's Falls Count Anywhere, which completely defeats the purpose of the Cell and them being relegated to the Cell. But I hate interference in Hell in a Cell matches to begin with, because the whole purpose of the fucking Cell is to keep people out. So why would you bring other people in? And who would you have even involved? Who would you even have get involved anyway? Who would you have interfere anyway? You know, would it be Vince? No thanks. Stephanie, I'm good. Triple H is another story, but they should save Triple H for getting involved in this story for later on down the road. So I wouldn't have anyone interfere. Have them settle the score. Have them settle their score on their own. No interference. Have KO win clean, and that's it. Please, no interference. It's not needed, nor is it necessary in a fucking Hell in a Cell match. That hasn't stopped WWE from doing it before. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I'm just saying I don't want to see it. Jeremy B. from Facebook as well. With rumors of Kevin Owens possibly being moved back to Raw after Hell in a Cell, do you think they should send Orton to Raw as well and send Finn, Balor, and The Miz to SmackDown with Miz possibly forming a new Miz-tourage with Ziggler and Ryder? That would be a way better stable. Like, Miz is making the most of what he's been given with Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel, but I've said for years that a great trio of guys to put together would be Zack Ryder, Dolph Ziggler, and The Miz. They're all good friends outside the ring anyway. They have great chemistry. You can have like a downstate theme song faction, but in all seriousness, I think they would work well together as a heel faction. Ryder is about to turn heel anyway. Ziggler is already a heel, and Miz is the best heel there is on Raw right now, in my opinion. With Samoa Joe currently out and Braun Strowman more of a babyface. But I would move KO. I would keep KO on SmackDown. I would not move him. But if they did move him, I would move Samoa Joe to SmackDown. I don't know what else they do with him on Raw. Brock Lesnar obviously has a stranglehold on that championship for the foreseeable future, so I'm not sure where they go with him once he comes back. Maybe a feud with John Cena, but beyond that, what else do you do with the guy without being relegated to feuding with fucking Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins again, you know? So if they do move KO, and I hope they don't, they should move Samoa Joe to SmackDown. Finn Balor would be a good pick too. I've talked about that. He's not really doing much on Raw other than feuding with Bray Wyatt, which is a waste. But I feel like they are building towards Finn and Brock at some point between now and WrestleMania. And the Miz should not have moved in the first place. But moving Miz... But the problem is, if you move Miz to SmackDown, he's got to drop the IC Championship to someone, whether it be Roman Reigns or Jason Jordan. You got to keep the IC title on Raw if the US Championship is staying on SmackDown. So, yeah, no, I don't think that's a bad idea. Orton moving to Raw and turning heel might be the best thing for him, because right now he's fucking doing nothing, and he's already feuded with a bunch of people on SmackDown. So that wouldn't be a bad trade. I hate doing trades and shit, because I would rather wait until the next shakeup, which should happen around WrestleMania time next year. But if they were to move KO to Raw, which, again, they shouldn't, because he's already faced Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose a million times over, that wouldn't be a bad trade. At E13A from Twitter, now moving into the Twitter questions, he sent a link from a tweet. I forgot who it was by. But basically, it was a GIF of some guy beating up, or maybe it was a guy in a Santa suit beating up on someone else. It looked completely ridiculous. I saw the GIF somewhere else on Twitter, like earlier this week, and he had just sent it over again. And it basically, he said, "Is this accurate?" And the GIF said, "Wrestling is the purest form of sport there is." Not really. I mean, wrestling it's a sport. I mean, I understand what you're saying it's the purest form maybe of entertainment there is. Wrestling, you can't really call it it is a sport. It is athletic, but I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, maybe the person's trying to be funny or something, but it's just not true. It's very athletic, but it's predetermined. It's the purest mix of wrestling and theater, of wrestling and entertainment, but it's not the purest form of sport there is. And I understand, like, it was a total joke, but I don't know. I understand what you're saying, but it's not accurate. At Scarlet1 from Twitter, are you excited to see another Triple H versus Shawn Michaels match, a.k.a. Bobby Roode versus Dolph Ziggler? I didn't even think about that. Yeah, Bobby Roode is like the second coming of Triple H and everything, and Dolph Ziggler has been jokingly been like the next Shawn Michaels for years now, which he isn't, but he thinks he is. I'm looking forward to the match, and ring-wise, I could not care less about Dolph Ziggler. You guys know that. But the match could be good as long as the goal is to get over Dolph Ziggler in the end. That's all I care about. Or not Dolph Ziggler. Fuck me. I'm sorry. I meant to say Bobby Roode. Dolph Ziggler, I could not give two shits about. So as long as the end goal is to get Bobby Roode over with the audience as a babyface on the rise, that's all that matters. So the match could be good too, though. We'll see. I think it could kick off the show. That's my official prediction. How do you expect Hell in a Cell to affect SmackDown? Well, it could very much affect SmackDown if Mahal drops the WWE Championship, which he should have done a long time ago, which I'm shocked he hasn't already. But, if he loses the WWE title, SmackDown will be in a way better place. I mean, Nakamura is not the greatest mic worker in the world, but he would be light years better in that role as WWE Champion than Jinder, who is fucking doing nothing for anyone right now. So, Hell in a Cell could be a very crucial show if he drops the championship. I don't think I'm going to say Nakamura wins the belt, but I would not be surprised if they kept it on Jinder, just because they are touring India in a few months, and that makes me very worried, to say the least. So it could be a game-changing show if everything is booked properly. I don't think it will. But, like, Hell in a Cell could very much affect SmackDown if Jinder drops the WWE Championship. If we have a new United States champion, which I also think is very likely, shockingly enough, but I do think Baron Corbin's losses are leading somewhere. Not the best way to build someone up, but I guess we'll see on Sunday. And if Kevin Owens disposes of fucking Shane McMahon. And if Shane McMahon's off TV, then we won't have a commissioner. It's just Daniel Bryan. So Hell in a Cell could be a game-changing show. And if we have the debut of someone new, like the Authors of Pain, like I talked about earlier. So Hell in a Cell could be a low-key big show. I'm looking forward to it on paper because there are a few good matches. The build has not been amazing. But it could be a very crucial show. I guess we'll see. It depends on it depends all on how it's booked and if it's booked properly. Time will tell. Their next question, how do you think the current brand split has been going compared to the original 15 years ago? I think better, honestly. I know SmackDown was like lit in 02 and people love SmackDown in 02, as they should. SmackDown was great back then, but it was also great last year, and then it fell off a cliff coming into 2017, and 2003, 2004 wasn't much different. But it's going a lot better in terms of keeping people on their shows. Now, I know we can complain like, oh, Shane was, like a part of the tribute at the start of Raw. Like, who fucking cares? It's a part of a tribute, which, by the way, my thoughts and prayers are with those affected by the Las Vegas massacre, the shooting, the tragedy that occurred on Monday, which was absolutely awful. I have no idea what our world is coming to. But, like, Shane was out there, and he's supposed to be the SmackDown Live commissioner. Who cares? It's a fucking 10-bell salute. Like, get over it, people. It's not a part of the show. That stuff doesn't even matter. They were having people switch brands every single fucking week. They would draft someone to Raw and they would go to SmackDown instead, like every other week. Like, we get it on occasion nowadays, but it happens every other week. Like, the live events and stuff, that stuff wasn't even, like, a factor back then. So people need to consider that when they're shitting on the current brand split, they need to remember that back then, WWE, even a year into the brand split, hardly meant anything. It really went downhill after, like, 05. From that point forward, they stopped taking it seriously. And it's not even been 3 years yet that we've had the second brand split. But before that even happened, before 05 even occurred, like in 02, 03, 04, people were switching back and forth every other week. And they didn't really make a big deal about it. So I think it's been going a lot better in the last year and a half. They've created a lot of new stars. In 02, they had a lot of new stars as well with the SmackDown 6 and Brock Lesnar. But there's a lot of guys that would not be champion right now. Jinder is hardly a star, but at least they're trying. Or they tried, rather, I would say. But they've got AJ Styles. They have Kevin Owens. They've got a number of other people rising up. Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe, a lot of people that might not be given chances if there was only one world title, one main show, and there weren't two different shows. So I think it's been going a lot better than it was 15 years ago. Maybe I'm biased. Maybe I'm wrong. It's all subjective, but that's my personal opinion. HB Kevin 91581 from Twitter, their question was, what is the one wrestling match whose outcome still bugs you most to this day? I'm going with Shawn Michaels versus John Cena from WrestleMania 23. That's a great question. There's a lot of them. The first one that came to mind when you sent in that question was CM Punk versus Triple H from a little over 6 years ago, and Night of Champions 2011. It bothered Punk, which obviously was a factor in why he left many years later. It just didn't make any sense. CM Punk was the hottest thing going in 2011, and just to halt his momentum, I don't care how good you thought the match was, I thought the match sucked. It felt like a main event from TNA at that point, with all the interference and the false finishes, and not even the false finishes, but like the ref bumps and the interference and all this other garbage. It was complete trash. I was not a fan of that match or the outcome. I just thought it was pure insanity. That, and also John Cena versus, you mentioned a John Cena WrestleMania match. I'll say John Cena versus Bray Wyatt from WrestleMania 30. That killed Bray Wyatt's momentum, and the guy has not been the same since. And that was over 3.5 fucking years ago. The guy has not yet recovered. Like, he's had glimpses of greatness here and there, but by and large, Bray Wyatt is not the same guy that he was before WrestleMania 30. So I'm going to say Cena versus Wyatt from Mania 30, and Punk and Triple H from Night of Champions 2011. There's two matches whose outcomes still bother me to this day. At Brad Berdar, we're going to finish on his question here. Even if they do it for all SmackDown exclusive pay-per-views, do you think having blue ring ropes at a pay-per-view like Hell in a Cell would look completely ridiculous? It would. I mean, it was weird that in all the graphics for the Hell in a Cell show, it's all blue. I mean, obviously, because it's a SmackDown show, which is why I think it feels better as a Raw show. I know they want to give the brands different opportunities. You know, this brand had this pay-per-view one year, and now this brand has it the other year. It would look ridiculous. I mean, then again, TLC is more like a red show too, and SmackDown had it last year, and I think they had blue ring ropes. But like Backlash is more of like a blue pay-per-view, and if Raw had it next year, it would be weird if they had red. I mean, it's a very little thing. Like, who cares? They're ring ropes, and it doesn't even really matter anyway because one of them's going to be pink, because of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So having all blue and then one pink. I know on Raw they had like the gray ropes and then one pink in the middle. So does it even matter? Like, if people have been bitching about that for years too. Like, oh, we have pink ring ropes in Hell in a Cell. Like, who fucking cares? It's for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Get over it. It's a ring rope. It doesn't make that big of a deal. The same thing with the blue ropes. I think the pink might be even a bigger, problem for many people, that having pink inside Hell in a Cell is an issue. Blue isn't that big of a problem. It does look weird, yes, but it's not completely ridiculous as you had proposed. But that is episode 201 of hashtag AskGSM, guys. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to check out the show and send in the questions. I always enjoy reviewing them and answering them, obviously. So be sure to send in your questions by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave a question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but not least, drop a question down below in the comment section, and I'll include it in next week's edition. So be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and also subscribe for more daily content. Like I said, guys, we'll be back next Wednesday with another all-new episode of hashtag AskGSM, episode 202. I don't think we'll go with the idea of making 205 an entirely cruiserweight theme show, because that just kind of sounds ridiculous, and no one would watch. Anyway, so enjoy the rest of your week, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.